podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
It arrives like the spring, and like the spring, it too lifts the hearts. That's right, it's Six Nations time. Let's get into it. Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Interpro Show, your home for all things professional and amateur men's and women's rugby in Ireland. We have Adam, Ben, and David joining me tonight to preview the 2026 Guinness Men's Six Nations Championship and its Parisian curtain raiser on Thursday between holders Le Bleu and the Hunters of Ireland. All that and more to come a little bit later on, but we're going to start with a little bit of URC chat and some contract news. Adam, the big signing of the winter potentially, Ulster confirming the signing of Matthew Devine on a 1 year deal from Connacht. Your thoughts?
Very nice signing. Very nice backup as well. But backup potentially start like the thing is with this signing is that we can actually see contenders now. Nathan Doakes had a really good time at really good season so far. In the 9 jersey, he kicks really well as well. So there's with him like performing the way he is and getting picked for Ireland squads, maybe that's going to be something that we're going to have to get used to in the future because he's playing so well. So Matthew Devine is one of those players that it was sort of a will they, won't they thing that sort of happened this season. So like, was he going to go to La Rochelle last season or was he going to go to Munster? Thankfully, he picked Ulster on a 1 year contract, but I see it as a you're going to play, you're going to see how much you can play, and if you play well, you're going to extend the contract. And hopefully that's the way it's going to go because I feel like he's a really good player. I really like the look of Matthew Devine, really snappy, cuts around the edges. It's just something that, and he's also worked with Mark Sexton and Richie Murphy as well. I feel like having those coaches, it really symbolizes something good for all those under 20s that went past before. So, yeah, I'm really excited. I'm really excited to see some contests in the 9 jersey, but also to let Nathan Doak sort of like go on to play more for Ireland. Because he's doing so well. And to have a scrum half that's really solid in the backup for him as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it'd be interesting to see how it goes. I echo everything you say in terms of Matthew Devine. He's a good, snippy, young knight. Like he's still only 23, he turns 24 during the Six Nations. Like he's still a young man. I would have no reservations about the fact that he decided to leave, considering his minutes at Connacht. Apart from the parts of the season where the season is kind of done, they have been pretty minimal. I think what's really interesting to look out for there, because we've heard the rumours, is that Ben Murphy's only got 20 minutes over the last 2 weeks as well. And he's also linked with a move away. Matthew Devine hasn't played in the last 2 weeks. He's obviously signed signed for Ulster, I should say. So that'll be interesting. You do want to hold on to your homegrown players and hold on to the lads who are produced locally. And like for Matthew, and again, I'm always conscious of not bringing up stuff that I may know because I know a lot of players personally and things like that, and conscious of goodwill and all that. Like he was probably on the outside looking in before his 20s year with Ireland, was absolutely phenomenal. Like phenomenal. Like he was one of their best players in 2022. Kicked on then from there, and like I think he'll do really well at Ulster. And like I think having a bit of healthy competition between himself and Nathan Doak, and whether Conor McKee stays put or whether he gets a loan move somewhere else will be interesting to follow as well, because having that little bit of change up, like Doak will be their starter. He will be their number one
Yeah,
guy, you would imagine.
100%.
But if you have McKee and Devine fighting to be like, right, you have to give me 15, 20 minutes every week. You have, like, I am that guy. Give me these minutes. I think that's only going to be a good thing, isn't it?
It is. It's only going to be a good thing as well. And injuries happen in sport as well. And I think what Ulster lacking is depth in particularly the 9 and 10 position. I'd be really worried if we were to lose like a Jack Murphy. Do you know what I mean? I'd be
Mm.
really worried if we were to lose a Nathan Doak. Conor McKee is playing really well, but I feel like Matthew Devine is that essence of he can pick the ball up and perform like a really quick, snappy player as well. Like he's a bit of a different player to Nathan Doak as well in terms of he's more of a snappy, quick, as you say, in and around the edges type of scrum half, and that's really good because as we say, like players need minutes, players need rest. We are only building depth, and it's only going to make us stronger. With 2 really good scrum halves and Conor McKee, who's also really looking decent as well.
Yeah, and just like from Johnny McCormick of Opta as well, 9 tries and 6 assists in 820 minutes for Connacht in the league and Europe, an average of 1.5 try involvements per 80 minutes for Matthew Devine, the best rate of any URC player since his debut in January 2024. Like that is brilliant numbers. Now,
Well,
obviously, like some of the games he's played, like Zebra and Black Lion and things like that, obviously that changes stats. He hasn't got a huge amount of minutes. That's still really impressive, and it is the direction of travel that Ulster are going with. Ben Donald, they confirmed. We'll probably talk about that more when we preview them next season, to be honest, because it's not a marquee signing. Eli Snyman, like they're going, like they know what they're building. They know what jigsaw pieces that they want. But because this is an Ireland show, we're going to move on really quickly. David, you're next up. Leinster made it 11 in a row, I believe. And yes, they were helped by the fact that Edinburgh are utterly, utterly confusing as a team. And that's the nicest synonym I can use. But this was Leinster grinding it out again while being imperfect and being rotated. And we've said it so often. These are games that Leinster may have lost in recent years, or they've won by 40 points and no one bat an eye. So the fact that they are winning by 8 points, like it is a somewhat dominant win, is impressive in its own right, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean it's becoming a trend that Leinster are a second half team, which is very much not the case in years gone by. I don't actually remember off the top of my head if we said this last week or not, but I think Hugh Griffin did a good bit on Blue Sky in terms of statistics to show the breakdown in points, and I don't have it to hand, but Leinster lose are on average losing the first half um, by a margin of I think it's about 40, 50 points across the course of the season, but are winning the second half by 2-1. So I think it's about 249 to about 125 or something like that.
I'll pull that up there and I'll flag it with you when I have it.
So thanks. That's a huge shift because in years gone by, Leinster have, as you said, have been winning matches by a lot or not winning them at all. I remember there was a Sale game in Europe a few years back where Leinster's conceded. I can't remember it was 2 or 3 tries in the last 10 minutes, which in any other circumstance would be a cataclysm. But because the lead was so big, it didn't matter. And that's fine, but then it came around to the situation where when we did need to guard a lead or we did need to dig in the last 20 minutes, it wasn't something we had any practice at. We're getting a lot of practice at it this year. And I think certainly for myself going to that Edinburgh match, I forgot that you have to dig it out in the end. You have to go in at the start, and that first half wasn't the most fun in the world. It was just the 1 try for us, 2 tries for them. Particularly to concede that try just before the half time, like that's when you don't want to concede a try. But they just dug in. They came back out. Scott Penny, who there's been a lot of talk around Scott Penny. He had a very good few years when he started out. Hasn't made it quite to the next level. Yeah, there we go there. So even closer in the first half. It's a 23-point differential in the first half with conceding 23 points more than we are scoring, and then in the second half it's 249 to 124. So almost exactly two to
125.
one.
Yeah.
120. Yeah. So almost exactly 2-1. So, that kind of tells it there. Um sorry, I was saying Scott Penny, 3 tries, a hat trick does not happen that often. But the manner in which he did it, it was only when he scored the third one, I was like, oh, that's 3 of them, and it's been him every time. It was a real digging it out performance from him, which is kind of what we've been looking for, particularly now that Will Connors has made the decision to depart. People like Scott Penny are going to have to justify why they decided to stay. I think he did that last night. Charlie Tector, I thought, was very unlucky to have an excellent try chalked off because of a forward pass that was called back. But he took his conversions well. Interesting again to see him in a 10 shirt after he's been playing so much 12. I think we could see the 12 having an impact on his 10 play. He presents a lot more of a running threat than we necessarily would have expected of him in the past. But yeah, overall, it's been a very interesting season for Leinster because the number one criticism of Leinster in seasons gone by is that they don't get tested before the end. And then when they do get tested, they fail. Um, they're getting tested now. Whether or not that's them testing themselves as opposed to the opposition testing them, I'm not 100% sure on that one. But they have been digging out wins. And from what was a really paltry start to the season to where they're sitting now is a pretty good turnaround, and to go into the Six Nations sitting where they are is a pretty happy one. If they can keep doing this, it could bode well for the end of the season. But I think it does remain to be seen if they come up against a team like a Bordeaux, will they be able to turn around in those last 20 minutes, or will the lackluster starts be something that they struggle to overcome?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And just finally, Ben, Munster losing on the road in Scotstoun. I know it's one of your least favorite places to go to. You mentioned that last week. Some positives: Tom Wood, Sean Adogbo, Evan O'Connell, Brian Gleeson. Probably the four that most people flagged after the game. Gleeson, 28 tackles. Wood looked a lot older than a 19-year-old. A lot of negatives, though. And yet again, Munster losing the game by shooting themselves in the foot in a series of mistakes over a couple of minutes, similar to Bath, similar to Cast, similar to Ulster, again, granted a little bit different of a game, similar to Toulon.
It's certainly more negatives than positives. It's I know David was saying Leinster started quite poorly and then came into it. It's almost feast and the famine for Munster, where we started those, not to harper back, but those first 6 games, best we've seen from Munster in the league probably since we won it. We've now won 2 of the past 6 and are on our worst run since 2011. Um, like we're 1 point better off than we were in that same period 15 years ago. And that was when many Munster fans would still say is the lowest and the worst we've been, certainly since the Champions Cup win of 2008. It was as poor a first 40 minutes as I think we've seen from a team in red this season, which, considering what we've seen, is a very strong statement to make. Capitulation of certain positions, I'm not going to nail any player, but there were key moments in that game that just balls had to go to hand that just didn't. There were potentially game-changing penalties that didn't go anywhere near or have the result that was even remotely acceptable. Tom Wood came in, was very, very good. Played really, really well. Looked, as you said, significantly older than 19. Very unlucky to miss the touchline conversion. Very unlucky with a penalty out of hand. If I'm 19, I'm trying to get every inch out of that. So did he. Just unfortunately misjudged it a little bit. Sean Adogbo, I think I saw a comment, saw it on Twitter. He runs like he hates grass. And it's just
one of my
excellent.
favorite phrases. I love that.
Like, he just barrels through people. Again, I know we had this clip from 2 weeks ago. There was another one last week where he just had 4 men. Took a fifth to take him into touch. He's exactly what you want to see from a Adogbo. If we can get to the point post Six Nations, we've the 2 of them, we might start seeing some things improve. Take Nottingham away from Glasgow. They were very, very good for 40 minutes. They built up their lead, almost let Munster back into it, but never really looked in danger. I think if we'd got another try, you'd have almost said Glasgow will go again. They almost did last 2 minutes of the game to win it, or to get and to stop us getting a BP out of it. Look, we weren't good. Let's be brutally honest about it. We'll go again. I think Six Nations is coming at a really good time for Munster, and that lads can sit down, review what's happened, and it's Zebra. And again, we should be winning. Or Zebra, for someone in the comments says Munster people can't pronounce the name of that team. I read them, I see them. Look,
you're going to come out of here by mentioning wasps, and then we're going to be
I'm
completely
not from
over
Cork,
it.
it's fine. And the AI won't let me say wasps like that. It's okay. I have to say it properly. Look, there's not a lot of positives. I think it's a thing of we go again. It can only get better from here. Hopefully guys get second chances to see if they turn around.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And
Talk about fun rugby.
Chance to talk about fun rugby from here. You are right, because we've got loads of Six Nations chat to get into this evening. As I said, we're going to look at the Ireland squad, the Ireland Matchday 23s, because there's a match on a Thursday. Would you believe that, huh? One for the purists, or the exact opposite. We're going to look at all 4 nations from an Irish eye as well. So prepare to be triggered, and then there will be predictions. But, gentlemen, we are going to start with that Ireland squad that was named 2 weeks ago now, I'm going to say. There's already been a couple of changes. I'm just going to read out in full. Firstly, the forwards: Tom Ahern, he has been removed since and replaced by Cormac Ejjuku. Finlay Bealham, Tyke Byrne, Jack Boyle, who was also replaced by Billy Bowen. Tom Clarkson, Jack Conan, Caelan Doris, Edwin Adogbo, Tyke Furlong, Ronan Kelleher, Jeremy Luckman, Joe McCarthy, Michael Milne, Tom O'Toole, Cian Prendergast, James Ryan, Dan Sheehan, Tom Stewart, Nick Timoney, and Josh van der Fleer. In the backs, Bundyaki, who of course was removed due to his suspension, which we may touch on if we get time. Robert Balakoon, Harry Byrne, Craig Casey, Jack Crowley, and Nathan Doak, the second of the uncapped players along with Adogbo. Tom Farrell, Kieran Frawley, who was actually released to the A squad this week. Jemison Gibson Park, Hugo Keenan, James Lowe, Stuart McCluskey, Tommy O'Brien, Jamie Osborne, Sam Prendergast, Gary Ringrose, and Jacob Stockdale. The call-ups, as I said, Billy Bowen and Jude Postlethwaite, while Darren Murray is still training with the senior squad and with the A's. And David, I'll start with yourself. Kind of one of those Ireland squads now, as has been the case since about 2023, where it's like, yeah, it's a squad. It's kind of what we expected. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, that's for you to decide.
To a degree. I mean, I think at the end of the day, while it was forced on us through injury and a lot of injuries in very specific positions, I don't know the last time we had to go, what are we, four deep at loose head at this stage? That's pretty dramatic. I think most teams would be forgiven for not necessarily having built the depth quite that deep. But there is a lot more change in this team than there has been in ones gone by, and it will be reflected when we talk about the actual match day 23. The fact that those changes were forced on us rather than being the product of either rotation or players coming through may mean that not all the players are quite who we would have liked to see in those positions. But, I think if the phrase is necessity is the mother of invention, we have to have players in this squad who we might not have otherwise, if not for injury. Um, Jeremy Loughman probably wouldn't start a Six Nations game if Andrew Porter and Jack Boyle and Paddy McCarthy weren't all injured, but they are, and now he gets a chance, and Michael Millen gets a chance to come off a bench, and in a big one too. Um, Whether or not they do enough to justify sticking around the squad is up to them, but they have the chance, and that's kind of nice to see. Cian Prendergast having, in a Connacht side that isn't firing all the time, quietly pushing his way to the fore. We're seeing a bit of a Jacob Stockdale resurgence. James Lowe maybe taking a bit of a dip. There is more change that I think some of us would have liked to see in there. I think the fact that certain players aren't involved in the match day 23, the fact that certain players are in the 15 squad when we would have liked to see them in the senior squad, there's a bit of that too. But I don't know. I think overall, it's not the team I would have chosen, but mostly because I would have chosen more guys who were injured. So the fact that we're forced to go to this place is possibly a blessing in disguise. It'll be a very tough opening day. You wouldn't have picked this fixture, the France fixture, as a starter with a team that's that hurt by injuries. Um, but it's a chance to Six Nations out from a World Cup to see a bit of fresh blood. And whether or not all of these players stick around, if one or two of them do, and that's the result of injuries through in Six Nations, then I think that's worth it as much as if we got one or two out of an A tour or a 15s game. So while I wouldn't be quietly confident of a serious result out of the Six Nations, I would be quietly hopeful that there might be one or two diamonds in the rough who come to the surface because of necessity. And I think if that is the result, then maybe it's worth it.
Yeah, it should be interesting follow in that regard. I do agree for the most part. I do think ultimately I have been firmly the Farrell as a conservative coach, conservative selector, and I would stand by it. But yeah, if I'm going to bring a journalistic eye to this, I also can't say all that and not recognize that there's like 10 changes from last year's 23 against France. Granted, that was an injury banged up team as well. There is changes. I may not find it exciting. I may not go as far as to use that word, but there are changes. And I suppose, Ben, I might just get you to have a look at kind of the forwards just for a moment. So as I said, like there is a couple of changes there, the likes of Tom Hearn and Jack Boyle missing out. This is probably where there's more excitement, I feel, at the moment, because Edwin Adogbo being one of those names, but also the fact that there's a new loose head, Tom Clarkson gets a start at tight head. We'll get onto that a little bit later on. Even just, you know, the back row composition, there's kind of a feeling maybe we'll see something different. Cian Prendergast has got a start, maybe Nick Timoney. So there's probably a little bit more hope, whereas before it always felt like with Porter's fit, Furlong's fit, Sheehan's fit, McCarthy or Ryan not always fit at the same time, Van der Fleer, Doris. So that's most of your pack. At the moment, not necessarily the case.
No, and like as I actually agree with David, as someone who's been very critical of Andy Farrell and his conservatism and the squads he selected, this is probably the most exciting Six Nations squad we've had in his tenure. He's brought in some players, I think a lot of us have been calling for a long time to get in. Tom Ahern, fine, he was injury, took him out previously, but again, deserves his cap. Clarkson in on form. Luckman, injury enforced, but I think we've said in this podcast multiple times, deserves a look, if not in the main squad, in the A squad. Michael Milne, Tom O'Toole, Cian Prendergast. They're players that Irish fans outside of the Six Nations fans have been calling for years to get involved in the setup. Um, like we'll get on to the squad playing on Thursday. I would have shockingly to some people like to see Dogbo involved there somewhere. Prendergast gets in, he gets his chance. I'm sure he will do very well. I'm excited to see what Tadhg Beirne can do from the second row. We, for the first time, have a bit of movement both in front row and in the back row. Second row's a little bit hamstrung. McCarthy is going to play every single game, as he should. Front row without Porter, without Furlong, now without Boyle as well. We can really play around it a little bit. And 2 years out from a World Cup, I think we need that as well. Like, will Luckman probably start another game? Probably not. But it gives him a chance to step up against a full strength French front row and see who we can get on. Yeah, I'm really excited. I know I criticize him about being conservative, but it is the best forward selection we've seen him do for the longest time.
No, I'd agree there. And like, look, we can have those debates, we can have those conversations, and if things go horribly in Paris, we will be having those conversations next week. But I also think it is only fair that considering what we said in November, that we recognise we wanted a Dogbo, Doak, we wanted to see Clarkson starting games. I don't think Cian Prendergast would have been this group's choice to start at blindside flanker.
No.
I think it would have been
No, but
largely as a Duke group, but it's still
he
a
should
change.
be there. And it's excellent that we're getting that change. We're in a scenario where if Touchwood, Doris were to get injured, we have players who can come in and fill in for him, which even as early as last November, we were sitting here saying, what happens if X, Y, and Z goes down? Now we're going to see in the pack what A, B, C, D is to that X, Y, and Z.
And I speak for hopefully more than just myself here. I am confident. Like, I am confident that Jeremy Luckman can do a job. I think he may struggle in this game or against England, but I think in the main, he's not that far off test level, even if he isn't at that level. I think, like I want to see Tom Stewart, Edwin Adogbo. I want to see possibly Jude Postlethwaite against Italy. I want to see Nathan Doak against Italy, for example. And
I
that
want to see
brings
Nick Timoney get 20 minutes on Thursday. Please.
Oh yeah, well, might get onto that a little bit later on. I've always said I'm not happy at how Ireland used the bench, but to bring you in there, Adam, a backline that has remarkably no Connacht players in it now, as it stands. There is one, two, three, four, five Ulster lads in there, and the rest from Leinster in terms of the options. Of course, three of them not involved this weekend from Ulster, but it is largely exciting, and there is an element of rewarding form. Yes, Zach Ward isn't there. We would have asked for him to have been in the squad, but Robert Balogun is there. He's going to have a chance to stake a claim, hopefully. Nathan Doak, likewise. Jude Postlethwaite, by all accounts, training the house down. Before we move off forwards, all the talk was that Bryn Ward trained the house down in Portugal as well. And it just kind of adds to that. If you bring them in, they can perform. They can add to training. They can bring that excitement. And you'd like to think, from your perspective, Ulster players, from just a general Irish perspective, that these lads are doing that. And it all opens the door to maybe a few new caps or a few different rotations against Italy and Wales.
Yeah, I think for we're like all this talk of like forced rotation and injuries, it sort of pushes us into a concept of I'd rather this happen now than again, like when I look at like the worst time that was ever happened to us was 2015 against Argentina. So that was an injury crisis that we weren't prepared for. Whereas this one, it's almost like we are now looking at now looking at different players, and at least Andy Farrell's like really rewarding the guys, like as we said, the Ulster guys. Like Jude Postlethwaite has been unbelievable for the past, I'd say, 2 seasons. Like he's really come into his form this season as well. The likes of Nathan Doak, how he hasn't got an Ireland cap yet, really shocks me. But as we said, that Italy game is going to be really good for those guys coming in. But yeah, the backline looks like relatively similar to what we've seen. But also with that aspect of rotation as well. Harry Byrne coming back in. You've got the likes of your sort of mainstay people at the minute. It's like Tommy O'Brien, Jamie Osborne. We're going to be talking about that later, but I quite like that little back three that they have going on against France. You have Jacob Stockdale, who's having a resurgence in his career. He's coming back to his like best this season, to be honest with you. Um, Kieran Frawley, I think, has he been dropped?
I wouldn't say dropped. I think he's just with the Ace team this week and
Ah,
will
right,
probably come
okay.
back in for Italy.
Yeah, so there's a lot to be excited about there. There's a lot of speed. I think that's what we said about Ireland in November. There wasn't much
Can I
speed.
raise the point, and anyone can answer this because I think this was very good. It was raised in the RT Rugby podcast today by Hugh Cahill. Um, do we have speed or do we have Irish speed?
Well,
Because when you
Rob,
compare it to like
uh,
Drayan and
it's
Adesogbe and
I,
Bielbiari and like even like Henry Arundel, maybe we just have Irish pace, which is not a bad
I
thing, but
I I think Tommy O'Brien and Robert Balogun in a wing position would be rapid. I like it, both of them in the wings. You'd have Zach Ward. Like if Zach Ward gets picked, which you presume at some point he might do, that is they've got pace to burn. I don't necessarily think that we have like the quickest centers in the world.
no,
Um, I'd say Jamie Osborne's quick enough. I don't think he's like rapid, but it's these type of players that you need to look at and say like, how can we utilize? Jacob Stockdale is quick. He wasn't as quick as he was, but he's still quicker than James Lowe. Do you know what I mean?
And
Like
like
there's,
the game that Ireland
there-
play doesn't really
Oh,
need
well.
fast centers. Like we'll have Balakoon, we have
yeah,
Stockdale. We ideally will
Mm.
have Ward. We don't. I've said in this podcast multiple times I want Sam Prendergast at 12 for a number of reasons. I'm not saying that for speed. It doesn't suit how Ireland play. But like Balakoon into an Irish setup with even with Ward or with Lowe or with Stockdale, my God.
it's just the
I think
speed to
next week
burn.
we'll have a good opportunity to maybe put our heads together, pick a team to play Italy with a similar idea to play Wales because look, people say disrespectful. I understand this channel is run by Welsh people, but like if I'm being honest, Italy and Wales are tier 1.5, tier 2. Like if we're being entirely honest, we got some a little bit later on. So that should be where we see Balakoon, maybe see Zach Ward Bryan, maybe, Kieran Frawley jumps the pecking order and gets a start at 15 or whatever it might be. But because you were going that direction, I might just go on to the Ireland team that was named to take on France this weekend. We'll start with Ireland. We'll do France a little bit after. I hope you like 15 to 9, 1 to 8, guys. That joke is back again. So number 15 is Jamie Osborne, 14 Tommy O'Brien, 13 Gary Ringrose, 12 Stuart McCluskey, 11 Jacob Stockdale. Halfbacks Sam Prendergast at 10, James Gibbs Park at 9. The front row, Jeremy Luckman, Dan Sheehan, and Tom Clarkson. Joe McCarthy and Tyke Byrne in the second row. Keane Prendergast, Josh van der Fleer, and Captain Caelan Doris in the back row. And a replacements bench, 6-2 of Kelleher, Mill, Beelum, James Ryan, Jack Conan, Nick Timoney, and the two being Craig Casey and Jack Crowley. I don't know who I have to start things off. I think it might be David. David, your thoughts on this Irish squad? Match day squad, I should say.
It's match day squad. It's as reported. I don't know that I expect Jamie Osborne. I thought Hugo Keenan has enough cachet and enough credit in the bank that you can bring him back in when he's had no on pitch time and kind of trust that he'll be all right. Jamie Osborne's a very good player, and obviously he played very well for Ireland at fullback on that South Africa tour. He's since done it for Leinster as well. I'm still of the opinion that I think 12 is his best position, but he can play fullback quite well. He just doesn't necessarily have the weight of experience that you'd be 100% confident firing him back in there, quite raw. So that'll be an interesting one. It'll be interesting as well if we have to switch if anything goes wrong there, but hopefully it doesn't. Outside of that, like I said, I think it was very good to see Cian Prendergast step up and get a shot at six. We've toyed around putting Ty Byrne at six. We put Jack Conan at six. I've always maintained that Conan is much better off the bench because he's a better eight than he is a six, as is Doris. You're better swapping those two than trying to shoehorn the pair of them into a back row together. Ty Byrne can play six, but he's a better lock, and you get more out of him when he's at lock. So, um, yeah, I thought that made more sense too. And Cian Prendergast has been playing well. He's also a strong line out option, which could be crucial for Ireland as well. The halfback pairing is kind of what was expected. I think this can be this I think it's a big enough moment for Sam Prendergast because the season hasn't gone spectacularly well or badly for him. It's kind of been somewhere in the middle. He's had very good moments and he's had very poor moments. He's had a fight on his hands with Harry Burns suddenly coming back and being in excellent contention. So, and particularly considering how cataclysmically poorly his last outing against France for Ireland went, I think he'll want to try and make up for some of that. So overall, I think it is probably as good a team as we could have fielded. It's whether or not it's a team that can win this game, I don't know, but it's certainly a team that if they show up and if they front up, they shouldn't skulk away afterwards, whatever the result is. So I'd be optimistic that there's at least enough experience in that team to hold the spine of it together. Um, and there's enough on the bench to maintain throughout the game. Whether or not it's enough to win, I don't know. I also think it's very interesting. I know I'm just looking at the Ireland team now, but looking at the France team, as good as a lot of those players are, there's a lot of turnover in that France team as well. There's a lot of people
Mm.
missing from that team as well. And the French aren't always ones who hit the ground running when they've had a lot of change to their squad either. They tend to build more into the tournament. So, 2 years ago, I think a lot of us were not 100% sure how things were going to go going over to France. And then Ireland and, call a spade, Jack Crowley smashed the shit out of them. So we should leave the door open for something like that happening again. Jack's on the bench. There's every chance he comes in at either 10 or 15, depending on what happens.
Or
Uh,
12.
or 12. And yeah, I think it's as good a team as we could have fielded, and I'd be like, again, I wouldn't even say cautiously optimistic, but I'm not dreading it.
Yeah. No, I do understand that. I would be, look, I've got a fucking 1,200 word preview like ready to go. It's not even done as 1,200 words, so like I'm not gonna give too much away yet. I can see why France are two score favorites with the bookies. That would be my side of it because ultimately I just can't look at this Irish team and have the same level of faith as I did in 24, where a lot of the talk was World Cup hangover related. And that's look absolutely understandable. But for me, I can't look at it the same way after New Zealand game in 24, New Zealand game in 25, South Africa game 25, France game in 25. I just can't. Like France scored something like 30 points unanswered in that game in Dublin, in your own backyard, on like a big send-off, emotional day as well. So that's where I'd land. But Adam, I suppose that's going to be the big prevailing. Well, look, in a perfectly normal media world, that would be the prevailing sense. But that doesn't always happen. We could get a sense of no, like trust the lads, trust the lads, trust the lads. We'll see how that unfolds over the next 48 hours because we're almost bang on 48 hours to kick off as we record. But how do you see this Irish team overturning France? Because like you look at that team, Stockdale, you know, we know he brings a big left boot. We know, McCluskey, great ball carrier. Osborne, good on kick return. We know, Prendergast good in the lineup. Just of the new players, Lookman's a pretty good scrummager. Clarkson's good around the field. But is this Irish team better with those 10 changes than last year? And they would have to be quite a bit better if they are going to beat France, you'd imagine. So what's your take on it?
I think when I said at the very start, I think at some point in one of the podcasts that we did recently, I think that I said that I'd rather take a third or a second in the Six Nations, but try something different. Like I'd rather see some change. And now we are seeing some change. Yes, it's forced. Yes, it looks a bit like we're lacking in some areas in terms of experience and test match experience. But you know, as I kind of repeated myself before, like you'd rather this happen now, against a really good French team, to be like, right, lads, this is your chance to stake your claim. This is the fire that they need under them. When I look at that bench, I'm quite excited about that bench. You've got Milne there, you've got Conan and Timoney coming off the bench, and Casey and Crowley. Like you've got those players coming off the bench, and that is good firepower. Kelleher as well. I would rather have Thomas Stewart, but that's just the Ulster in me, to be honest with you. Beelum hasn't done great this season. There's still a lot of players that are like a bit off the bench. But listen, I think there is something cautiously optimistic, as David would say. I can see it going, it is that cautious optimism. It is the start of the Six Nations. I'm not as giddy as usual. I think it's because it's on a Thursday night, and that just gives me bad vibes. It's gonna be something that I'm gonna have like a Sprite or something watching it instead of a typical like Guinness or something like that. But you know, uh, it's one of those where I look at this team and I go, yeah, I see a lot of progress. I see a lot of chances given. But I also see a lot of like holes. Like I think the scrum is going to get tested. That French pack is something to be terrified of. But also, in a sense, it's really good to have Luckman to get more experience. Of course, Clarkson as well in that test match setting. Kian Prendergast, it's good to see him as well, Connacht captain. You know, to get some of these guys test match experience. Same as Nick Timoney. I don't remember how many like Six Nations caps off the top of my head that he would have, but I don't think it would be many. Um,
Has he any?
I I wouldn't think
Genuinely?
so. I'm not sure. I'm not sure now. But it's one of those where you need these guys to have this experience, and it's going to be good. I think either way, we're going to see some nice flowing rugby, and I'm not sure it's going to be. It's not going to be us, but you never know. Andy Farr might shock us. He might surprise us. He's certainly surprised me with some of the call-ups he's been doing. You know, he's not been going for the tried and tested. You know, they're putting a stamp down in things like when Bundy's disciplinary record against referees, they put the stamp down there as well. So you know, maybe there's something different. Maybe there's a change. Maybe we might see something different than Andy Farrell Cohesion Ball. But then again, it's a Thursday night. I'm gonna be watching it stone cold sober with a Sprite in my hand.
Prepare for snow on the ball akin to the Winter Olympics that is taking place. It's actually Nick Timley's Six Nations debut, along with Keane Prendergast. Jeremy Luckman, I believe, has one Six Nations game, Michael Milne Six Nations debut. So I do understand from that realm why you may be hesitant to bring in, say, in a dog book, because you feel like there's enough inexperience. But as I always say, I think some of that can be overblown sometimes. Like Nathan Duck is 100 games, Nick Timley is 150 for his province, playing big games as well. So I think that could be overdone. But Ben, I'm going to bring you in here on the French team. I'll read it out first. They've gone 1 to 23, so I'm going to go 1 to 23. I won't do the accents, don't worry.
De toi.
Oh geez, I thought I'd be lucky to get past 10, to be honest, lads. So, Lucid prop is Jean-Baptiste Gros. Julien Marchand is at hooker with Dorian Aldegheri at tight head prop. Charles Olivon and Michael Guillard are the second rows. Francois Crowe, Oscar Gigoux, and Anthony Gelanche are the back row. There is a certain Antoine Dupont captaining the side from number 9, if you've ever heard of him. You may not have heard of his halfback partner, Matthew Jalibert of UBB. It's Yoram Moafana and Nicolas Deporter in the centres, also of UBB. Louis Bielbiari, also of UBB, is on the left wing. Theo Adesogbe on the right, and Thomas Ramo at full back. The finisseur, as the replacements, as they're listed as, is Pietro Mavaca, Rodri Ignetti, Regis Montagna, which, again, a prop whose name is literally Mountain. Perfect. Love that. Hugo Aradu, Emmanuel Miafu, and Lenny Nuki are the 6 forwards. Baptiste Saran, I'm wearing a Toulon jersey actually. So Baptiste Saran is one of the backs, along with Calvin Gorge and Ben. Different France. They're not quite. I'm going to run over you like both of their centres are lighter than the Irish centres. Their back row is more athletic. Shegu has played centre against Ireland, coincidentally. Olivon is a flanker, even though he's 6'6". It's almost weird that France have gone for this athletic profile because we just think of them as big men who are going to punch you in the face, like with respect.
Yeah, but like we mentioned that Ireland are going to kick leather off the ball. That's, I think, what we expected to do. It's what Galtier seemingly has expected Ireland to do, and he's gone for a team that says, "Fine, give me the ball. I will send all of this 23 running straight down your throats. And if I can't run over you, we'll just run past you."
Or kicking behind with their 3 kickers.
Or kicking behind. It is a like I'm all again. I'm wearing an Ireland jersey. I'm very much Team Ireland this evening, but that is a terrifying French 23. Um, that back line. Sorry, Kaelon did lovely accents. I'm going to butcher all of them now. Adesogbe, Porte, Mofana, Bielbieri, Jalibert, Dupont, with Ramos behind them again. That beats any team in Europe. Like at club level, that beats any team in Europe. We've seen how good UBB are. They've now taken that back line, put it in Six Nations, added Dupont and Ramos to it. Their pack has a couple of enforced changes, but like anyone they've brought in, we've had to make changes for injuries. They've brought in players who arguably could have started last year, could start any other game this Six Nations. That back line, it might be lightweight, but Jalen Shegu and Crow carrying and going in over ball is a terrifying prospect with the back row we have picked. Prendergast is very
That
good.
was my takeaway. That was my takeaway as well. Just on those three, like I really do fear. Now, Francois Crow hasn't been at Francois Crow levels. This year, Jelonch has had a stop-start couple of years, but like, if we even get the Jagu that played against Leinster, like, very tough man to handle. Do you know what I mean? Like we were all praising them after that game in particular. They are super athletic. Yes, they've only got one specialist flanker on the bench. Maybe we see Olivon pull back
Olivan will
in this
drop back
game.
if they absolutely need to.
That's what you'd imagine. And maybe Jagu is the one to go 80 minutes. But it's just like, yeah, it's a very kick transition type of French team, line out orientated French team as well, because
Even-
probably their two best jumpers are in the back row. So
But they have the bench as well. Like Mifu will come in and he will, if they have line-out issues, they'll just bring in Mifu and it'll sort out any line-out issues they have. We haven't mentioned them all that much, but Calvin Gorgeous or Gorges, he is stunning. If he comes on, Jesus Christ, he's everything you want in a backline player. He's Toulouse, he comes in, he runs in tries for fun. He's French jouet in a small little package. He's excellent.
I wish he made that. I wish Ulster had given Werner Koch a signing after all those comments you've meant to see them. But anyways,
Werner Koch and Calvin Gorges. Put them together. The Gorges Koch backline. Wouldn't it be wonderful? No, it's hard.
Jesus Christ, Adam. And final word, Ben, before you move on.
It's hard to be confident with that French 1-23, unfortunately. Are Ireland able to keep up with them? 100%. My only worry is if that French team get flying and if they get 2 tries inside the first 20-25 minutes, I don't see that we have the players to stop their backline in full flight.
Well, Munster, because you're the Munster guests, have kind of lost the race to 10 points a lot in recent weeks. If Ireland do, you do fear for them because France have that ability to just go up through the levels.
We saw last year Ulster and Munster both took on Ubebe, gave them kicks to them, tried to do off ball, gave them ball, and Adam and myself are both acutely aware of how that ends up. If you give France ball and if we don't kick chase well, it's going to be an awfully long Thursday evening. And as Adam said, we're not going to have any points to make it better.
Well, we shall see. Drink sponsors, come at us, guys. You know, we're more than keen. We're more than keen. But we will get predictions on that in just a minute because I want to get your takes on the other 4 nations in this competition. Just finally, I do echo a lot of what you said about France. France may or may not be my title favourites. Wink, wink. We'll get on to that in a minute. But Adam, I'm going to start with you to kick us off. This is a Welsh-run channel, so tell us every reason why Wales are going to win the Six Nations, and it's not propaganda. Go.
They did the Jam Slam a couple of years ago, and we didn't expect it.
That was a much better Welsh team, but yes.
I know, but they had a Jam Slam. Billy Burns effectively won them that Grand Slam. Let's face it. That's no offense
Thomas
to him.
Francis
He's an
having
awesome-
a big head and a small face. Remember? Do you remember the meme?
Yeah, I do feel like this is going to be an interesting one for Wales. I feel like the teams in the URC are performing much better due to the players being really angry. I feel like there's a added fire to this Welsh team with the whole WRU situation. Like I hope everything gets sorted out, and I hope the players are going to be okay, and I hope the Ospreys get saved, because these guys are now playing for not only Wales, but they're also playing for spaces in the other Welsh teams if one of the teams go down. So I feel like this Welsh team is going to have a little bit of fire in their belly. They're going to have a lot. I feel like they're also going to be trying to build as well for the World Cup. I think like they don't want to get embarrassed in this Six Nations. They've had so many years of turmoil, just like downward falling But now when you look at their squad, they've got the likes of Dewey Lake coming through. Well, Dewey Lake, who we know is a really good player. They've got Jack Morgan, who's also a very good player. You've got Louis Zammit back from his NFL playing. And the one thing I do notice about his Reece Zammit is that he runs very straight now. Like thing about him is he runs very much like a running back, and that's terrifying. But you've got the likes of me who not me, I am close enough to Wales, but Elliot May, who as Ulster fans know, can crop out of nowhere to score a try. He's really tall, quite quick as well. I feel like Wales right now, you've got, well, Thomas Williams as well, the Forgotten Lion, a very good player for Gloucester. He's a real, like if you keep him fit as well, he's an excellent player. Blair Murray, who was Wales's best performer probably last year, in my opinion. Blair Murray, who can run the ball really good from fullback, and also kick the ball very well. I feel like if you're a Welsh rugby fan, I think if you're looking at, take away all of the stuff, and I'm sure it's really difficult to take away all the stuff, but that team on paper should be beating the likes of Wales, should be competing against the likes of Scotland. England are very good. I think England are a bit of a step too far, to be honest with you. England are very, very good. Um, Ireland, I say, it's just depending on how we play this weekend. France is a bit of a step too far as well, but I feel like they'll put a very good game against Scotland and Italy, and I feel like that's their target, is to get 2 wins.
Yeah, no, we shall see on that one. Next up, I'm just going to briefly run through Italy. I'm not 100% high on Italy's chances. They had a decent autumn, but beating Chile, beating the Australia that we saw, it is kind of hard to judge because Australia weren't great. They were like levels of bad in that game. Kind of had a semi-decent performance against South Africa, but as we know, that was the game with all the cards and all the controversy. If they put it together, I think Italy can put up a fight against Scotland this weekend, and I think they could pull off something there. But I'd just be more concerned the fact that that's week one, and Scotland should be more capable and more than ready for them in that one. So I think it's going to be Wales and Italy fighting it out at the bottom of the table, and we will get wooden spoon predictions later on. But yeah, I wouldn't be too high in Italy. I think a big performance against Scotland, Wales, hopefully a win there for them, and against Ireland or England or France. And I think you could count it as somewhat positive, but also at the same time, we're a couple of years into this Italian team and they're not rising. So I wouldn't be too high. Now, do I go with one of the tournament favorites next, or the team that we're just going to say are frauds? I'm going to go with the frauds. So, David, if you would like to take it away with
Okay.
Scotland, and maybe that's me pontificating my own opinions onto you, you can go whatever direction you want, of course.
I was sure you were talking about Ben and Steve Borthwick there for a second.
Hey!
And I will say, because I'm still annoyed you didn't give them to me, it wasn't last season, but the season before, Italy were like 2 tries in 2 games away from winning. Genuinely, the whole Six Nations. They should have beaten France. They should have beaten England. They were genuinely 2 scores from winning the whole thing. Probably won't happen this year. They're not in the same place, and everyone else isn't either. But on a good year, anything can happen. Scotland, I'm going to try to be as positive about Scotland as I can. Scotland should beat Italy and Wales just based on where those two teams are and based on where they are. So that's 2 wins to start with. England, as good as they're looking this season, have an Achilles heel, and for some reason, that Achilles heel is to the north. In the last 10 games between the two sides, England have won 4, Scotland have won 5, the other one was a draw. But in the last 5 games, all of which were Six Nations, Scotland have won 4 and England have won 1. So, and that one was a 16-15 victory in England's favour. So, the narrowest of margins. So, I don't think it's that much of a stretch for Scotland to get 3 wins out of those. In that situation, depending on how other teams play, they only have to pick off one of Ireland or France. Um, and the tournament's possibly there for them. So it's a long shot. It's always a bit of a long shot with Scotland. They could as easily lose to Italy and Wales and finish bottom themselves. But they were reasonably well represented in the Lions squad. They still have pretty good centre pairing. Um, and there's probably not that much more positive I can say about their squad. But like, the thing about Scotland is it's a genuine source of frustration, and it's kind of flipped now because Wales are now suddenly terrible. But it used to really annoy me how Scotland would play really good, beat Italy, beat England, and then fall to Wales. And you think if they could just string those three games together one year, it'd be a little bit different for them. I think they should be able to string those three games together this year, and if they can chip off the fourth, which is distinctly possible, then genuinely they could have a shot at contention. Is it likely? No. Would I put money on it? No. But it's something to aim for, and I don't think it's as unrealistic as it has been in years gone by. So I'll be watching them if for no other reason than they tend to play fun rugby, even if sometimes it's a bit stupid. But yeah, I'll have fun watching Scotland. And
Yeah.
and Finn Russell, I very rarely, no, that's not true. I try to apologize when I'm wrong. I was wrong about Finn Russell. I said he was a fraud. I said he wouldn't make the Lions squad. Turns out he's actually quite good at rugby. So
Funny you say that because I was listening to the 8-9 Rugby podcast, which I firmly recommend to everyone. Brett McKay is back with another season of that. And Charlie Morgan made the point that maybe Finn isn't playing his best rugby at the moment, and maybe that's cause for concern.
yeah.
Just say, look, who am I to disagree with Charlie Morgan? He watches a lot more bat than I do. And when I watched
Well,
them, it was
thank you for
through my
taking the
hand.
sting. Thank you for taking the sting out of my apology there, but I still maintain he is
Yeah, but
actually
it's fine.
genuinely quite good at rugby.
You apologize, and I just said no, not today. So I think that's all very well and good. But gentlemen, we've got predictions to get into. Unfortunately, we don't really have time to touch on the 20s and the A game. We'll try and do that next week if we get a chance.
Spain not get to
But
talk about England, is that not?
oh, sorry, yes,
We
sorry,
can
we have
skip
one more
England.
thing.
That's fine.
If you know what, 800 years, Trevelyan and Cromwell, leave it at that. If we've
Oh
any
no,
English
I
listeners.
live there, guys. I live there, guys.
Yeah, but you don't really, your scouse mate, la.
Yeah, yeah.
Ben, take it away on
Basically,
England when you
Uh, we, we
calm down.
we will very, very quickly touch on England, I promise. From a very exciting Scotland to watch to probably the most pragmatic team in the Six Nations outside of Ireland, with a bit of Henry Pollock thrown in. Um, England's fixtures fall really, really nicely for them. I know they have Scotland game too. If they get out of Scotland, they'll be looking at a Grand Slam with like Crunch in the final game, going to the Stade. That game probably decides who win the Six Nations, if not who takes the Grand Slam. If England can keep their 23, which has already been named, which is insane and says a lot what I think about Wales. If England keep that 23 fit for the entire thing, they won't be very far away at all. It'll be boring. It'll be Ireland only kind of worse and kind of more up the jumper, but they're beasts. They're an excellent team, and I guess we'll see how they get on. England will be top two. I don't think that's really up for debate. It's who comes second and third. It's if they don't win it, they will be second. It's who goes above them and who goes below them, I think.
That's the thing we shall see on that. We will actually get into predictions now because we are a little bit tight on time. Thank you very much for reminding me, gentlemen. Even a skilled presenter like myself, who apparently must hate the English, can forget about the English from time to time.
Heller
But
to Connacht, etc., etc., etc.,
yeah,
etc.
maybe I'm still scared by that. Who knows? But also at the same time, Carl Dixon, hope you got the flowers and chocolates that I sent to your hotel room to be nice to Ireland at the weekend. But we're going to actually start with that game, gentlemen. We do weekly predictions every week. Do follow it across Twitter. It is neck and neck. Myself and David still tied for the lead. And because of that, I'm going to let David go first and give us his prediction on Ireland against France and why.
I'm gonna predict that it'll be France by. I'm gonna say it's gonna be by 8 points. I think it'll be by slightly more than a score. I think we'll put up a good fight, but I think in the end it'll just be slightly too much for us. I'd say we could come from a deeper lead to finish closer to them than we are at a certain point in the game, but I just can't see um this Irish team being able to beat that French team. I think the
Yeah,
French just have too much quality, and I think I think it's going to be by a hair more than a score. I'd say 8 to 10 points.
that is the concern. I currently have France by about 12, give or take, and that is where I'm kind of falling. But if it is a wet night, and if Ireland can just lock out at set piece, now they have to be greatly improved on set piece from what they were last year, and that is a big ask in and of itself in one game. I think it can be a one-score game, and then at that stage, it could go either way. We know what it is like with France, but France in the Stade de France at night, an opener. The fact that Dupont got injured in this game, and it's his first game back for France, I just think it's too much. And look, France are under pressure. Like they don't do back to back. They've done it twice since the 1970s or 1960s, I think it is. So like it doesn't really happen for them. So this is a huge opportunity, and kind of like how they did in 2022. This is the odd or the even year. They will be targeting Islam. So I think France are going to win this one. David, or sorry, not David, Adam. Pick us up. Tell us why Ireland are going to win, please. Please do it.
Ireland are gonna win. I'm gonna say by 3. I'm gonna say it's gonna be a very rope-a-dope game. Timony to score a try.
I was
Um,
actually fully expecting you to say Jacob Stockdale drop goal. Not gonna lie.
well, I Jacob Stockdale hasn't. The France is the only Six Nations team I believe that he hasn't scored against. So,
Correct.
to set those, to set that 2018 feeling, I think this is Jacob Stockdale's like first Ireland game that I can remember back in the 11 jersey for the Six Nations. I do feel like we can win this. I feel like this is going to be a very tricky game, but I'm for the sake of clarity and for the sake of trying to climb up the table because I did so horrifically last week. I'm going to say Ireland by 3, and I feel like I'm going to put my money all in one. I'm not going to put any money on it. I don't. I want to keep my money, but I'm going to put all my I'm going to put all my faith into Ireland. I feel by 3. I feel it's going to be, as I said, rope-a-dope. We need to get set piece right. Drop goal at some stage. Maybe recreate the drop goal. Sam Prendergast or Crowley. It'd be them scrapping to get the ball either way. I can imagine it'd be them standing in front of each other. Then Kieran Frawley comes
It's
out.
it's fine. At least Craig Casey will pass the ball.
Yeah, fair enough.
So Ireland, you've got Ireland. Two of us have gone for France. Ben, you're wearing green, and you were behind after a poor week in the predictions, but you've kind of talked yourself into a French win. So which way are you gonna go?
I'm going to caveat this. France should win by 10 plus. If Ireland are within a score at half time, I think we win it. I think we can see it out in the second half. My prediction to go down that I'm going to go with is France. But for Thursday night as we're recording, if we are within a score at half time, I think France will get nervous, do a France, and Ireland will see it out.
I mean, if we get a Six Nations Classic like you two are predicting with the Shamrocks, we should have
You
ended
can
on
never
this.
rule
Fuck
out
it
doing a
anyways.
France.
You can never rule out doing a France. That's absolutely true. But then again, at the same time, just gonna open the URC group chat that I'm still somehow in, and Hugh Griffin, of course, friend of the pod, producer extraordinaire, has why Ireland are totally screwed on this
Yeah,
week's
I
Top
saw
14
that.
digest.
I
So
saw that.
look, we all
This,
have got teams. I want Ireland to win.
this is
I
our
just think
message.
France are going to win. I'd
This is
rather
our
win at
message.
Twickenham.
This is our message of the top 14 digest. Digest an Ireland win.
Hey,
Yeah.
that was not great.
We'll give you an aperitif.
We've got a bunch of one-word questions to go. So, David, quickly, wooden spoon. Is there going to be a wooden spoon winner? And if so, who?
Wales.
Adam,
Wales.
Ben,
Wales.
fucking, I'm gonna go Italy. I know where my butter is being fucking where my bread is being buttered.
Tune in next
I'm-
week for when there are 3 new hosts.
Shout out to
rap-
Lee. Hi, Lee.
Hi, Lee.
The rap Illuminati is on us.
David, I'm going to start with you again. Is there going to be a Triple Crown winner, and if so, who?
No, there isn't. I don't think so.
Okay, Adam,
England.
Ben.
No.
I'm going to join Adam. I'm going to go with England. But will England lose to Scotland? Probably. Yeah. You know what it is. the way it is.
It'll be
You don't
Scotland.
have-
Wait for it. They'll beat
Yeah.
England at home. They'll somehow win
Yeah.
the Aviva, and then it's only beat Wales.
And then they messed that one up.
Duan van der Merwe isn't playing for Scotland at the minute, and he scored his first away try since 2020 on the weekend, and I find that mad. But he always scores against England, and he's not playing. So there's
That's
the
true.
key.
That's
There's the
true.
key to a triple crown.
Speaking of players, I have player to watch. David, do you have one for me?
In general, or
Just in general. It could be anywhere, Irish or the other 5.
oh god, you should have told us about this beforehand. I'm gonna
I
say
did right before we
watch-
hit record.
That doesn't count as beforehand. I'm gonna say France's number 23. I've heard he's phenomenal. And in a
Right.
team full of players who are going to cause us trouble, apparently he's going to cause us even more.
Yeah, that is fair. Adam, have you got a player to watch?
I'm gonna say Italy's number 17. Haven't been announced yet. No, I'm only joking.
I was gonna say, did they have a
Sorry.
name?
His name.
Oh, jeez. Do you have a name for us?
No, I'm gonna say a player to look out for. I'm going to say, and this is gonna be a bit bad of me to say, I'm gonna say McCarthy's gonna have a very good Six Nations. And I feel like he's one that we can always look at. I feel like he's been given a lot of bashings in the past, probably by myself in podcasts, but I do think it's gonna be McCarthy's year to really stick it out in that 4 jersey.
Okay, that'll be one to watch as well. Ben, have you got one? And I kind of hope you don't have the same one as me.
Um, I'm gonna have two, and one of them's probably gonna match. So from a Munster POV, Edwin Dogbo, if he gets a game, just he's gonna be incredible. My actual player to watch, Francis 14, Tio Elisogbe. He is insane.
Yeah,
I
that's
hope
fair.
he doesn't have a great game on Thursday, but the rest of the tournament, he's excellent.
I was going to go with Edwin Dogman. My backup is actually somewhat underrated. Guy Pepper of Bath and of England. He's like
Yeah,
your half lock,
Mhm.
like your for an Irish audience. He's like your Ryan Baird, except slightly quicker. Like he's a proper talent. David,
Just
circling
because,
back to what?
just because Adam was right, I didn't actually name him. His name is Calvin Godge, is that player's
Okay.
name. So
We will
he's
butcher
20
that
years
next
old.
week when he
Yeah.
scores the match
He's
winning try.
gorgeous, guys. Come on.
David, have you got a winner of the slam? Yes or no?
No, I don't think
Adam,
so.
will there be a slam champion?
No.
Ben?
Can you come back to me tomorrow at 10 o'clock? No, there won't.
Slams
No.
are actually more common than you think because it's usually only one match that decides it. The winner always wins at least
See,
4 games, so it's
It'll
really
go
only
to
one
round.
game that
It'll go to
decides it.
game 5. It'll
I,
go to the last
I
game
think,
of the
I
tournament.
think, but I think statistically, slams are about 50% of wins. They're not actually that uncommon, but they just seem really hard to do. France are going to lose to somebody. England are going to lose to us or Scotland. We're not beating all 5 of the teams. So yeah, this year I just can't see it happen. Somebody's
God,
going to mess
we're
up.
losing to Wales. I know.
Somebody's going to
I
mess
Slam
up.
I'm gonna
is
go with
back.
I'm gonna go with a slam winner. I'm gonna go with a
Yeah.
slam winner on the final day. And anyone who's seen my video for ATR, which may not have gone up yet, I did give it in that one as well. David, where are Ireland going to finish and why?
I think Ireland are going to finish. I think we're going to finish second because
I thought
we'll
that looked like an F coming out of your mouth. I
I
was
was
like,
gonna say
no.
fourth for a
we'll
second. I think, no.
we'll beat one of France or England. I also famously said we beat one of South Africa and New Zealand, so take that with a pinch of
Fair.
salt. But I think we'll beat one of them.
Yeah, people think I'm a cynic, but I
Um,
did say that as well. The record is there. Adam, where are Ireland going to finish?
I think if I want this to be a successful Six Nations, I'm gonna say that we try a lot more players and a lot more rotation, and I would take a third.
Okay. I'm slightly okay with that. Not as okay with that as we fleshed out in the WhatsApp group, but slightly okay with it. Ben?
Comfortably third, second if we BP Scotland and Italy.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's fair. I have Ireland third at the moment, but I think the aim has to be at least second. Because if you have 3 walkovers, they're not walkovers, I know they're not really, but like history says they are for Ireland at home against Scotland, Italy, and Wales. If you have those 3 games, then it's 1 from 2, and you have to be aiming for 1 from 2. Same as November.
Yeah.
You know, that has to be your bare minimum.
Well, I'm like, England
I'm-
won't BP Scotland in Murrayfield. We can BP Scotland in New Viva.
which is fair. I think that's fair. If you think
But-
Scotland are going to beat England, yeah, I think that's fair.
Can we beat England in Twickenham though? Like it's either France in Paris or England in Twickenham.
Let me just jump in there. The referee is Andrea Piardi, so you never
Hey!
know.
There are too many
rules.
Yes, URC, URC.
What an
The
awful-
thing
what
is,
an awful
the thing
way to
is
finish.
interesting and annoying is also that last year we won 4 out of 5 games and it wasn't enough. So those
But
pesky bonus points.
then again, we did lose that other one quite badly. So
Yeah.
I thought
But it's
last
just
year
the
was a
pesky bonus point.
disaster.
It wasn't that cost us. It was letting England score those tries at the end that cost us. Like,
but that's fucking pedantic. Like You know what I
But
mean?
it is like that's bonus points. Like that's what it came down to.
It's down to
Yeah,
the
and
frustrating.
if
second this
if
be
Finn Smith
determined.
doesn't chip over the top, they don't beat France. I'm sure it's a
Yeah.
nothing, you know. So
But then we would
I
have
don't know.
finished second.
That's true.
It
That's
doesn't.
true.
It doesn't change anything for us if France win
Did
a
I?
slam or
No,
the championship.
my winner is France with a slam on the final day, as England also go for a slam. That would be cinema. In fair, like that would be absolute cinema.
Yeah,
I
it
think
would be
we're all
wonderful.
kind of in line that that's going to be the winner.
Are you all
Oh,
saying
yeah.
not necessarily slam decider, but championship decider?
Yeah.
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 Okay, not the greatest way to finish. We should have finished after the Ireland France predictions, to be honest.
Yeah.
Well,
And just done a
can-
separate video.
It's not necessarily a positive, but I just for anyone who hasn't noticed, I am wearing a La Rochelle jersey today, and I'm wearing it in honor of the big man
Really?
Winnie Antonio, who, for anyone who hasn't heard, has had to retire. I'm going to say early. He's only 35 from rugby. He unfortunately had a heart attack in the last 2 weeks. He's okay, or at least he's being taken care of. And while it's very sad to see his career end, it's very we're very lucky that he's still with us, and
100%.
we hope that he has a full recovery and can enjoy a happy retirement after what was an incredible career. And I say that as a man who he has frustrated on more than one occasion in multiple jerseys, but he's a paragon of the sport, and he's going to be missed.
Yeah,
Just
one of
to add
the-
on to
one-
that, if
one of
anyone
the
is in La
behemoths.
if anyone is in La Rochelle at any point, he's a lovely bar just literally just outside of the main square of the city. Glasses have his face on it. His beer is lovely. Go by the man a
Oh.
pint.
And,
Oh,
it,
it's
and
incredible.
it has the black beard as well, which really
Yeah.
just makes it. Yeah, no,
They're
we're all thinking of
excellent.
Winnie Antonio at this time, and his family
Yeah,
and his friends.
100%.
And look, this is going to be part of the discussion for the French game. Like, are France going to be emotionally charged or emotionally drained by it? Because it is tough to see that going on, and to know that that is the case, and it does put things into perspective. I thought Jan Sheehan actually spoke quite well about it this week as well. But gentlemen, we will leave it at that for tonight. We'll be back next week as always, where we'll be looking back at what will hopefully be another fateful night in Paris, like 2000, like 2014, and like 2018. On two of those occasions, Ireland went on to win the championship. I'm just saying, it would be a rarity. But if it could happen, you just never know. As always, for everyone at home, and I should have plugged this during the middle of the podcast and I forgot, but make sure to smash those like and subscribe buttons on YouTube. Follow us wherever you get your podcast, because we are going to have wall-to-wall Six Nations coverage across the championship. I'm not sure what the other Global Gainline podcasts are doing, what the URC are doing one, or what the story is, but if they are, loads of diverse chat,
Yes.
loads of conversation going on.
Yeah.
I will have loads of stuff as well if you follow me online, and I'm sure the gentleman with me as well will have lots of little tweets and barbs and jibes and all that. But from me, Kaelon, from David, from Adam, from Ben, enjoy Six Nations time. Be still, my beating heart, I believe is how that RT montage ended. And until next time, we'll speak to you very, very soon.